Okay, so good day everyone. Today we are now at chapter 4 of our discussions in mathematics in the modern world. Chapter 4 is about the mathematics of finance. So in this chapter, we will be discussing concepts such as simple and compound interest, as well as what is a credit card and a consumer loan, together with stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And lastly, home ownership. Okay. So to start with, let's have lesson 1 of chapter 4, which is about simple and compound interest. So as stated in our module, an interest is a percentage of some amount of money as a payment for the use of the money that was borrowed or lent. It can be a payment to someone that you ask to borrow money, or it can be a payment for the money that you lend to someone. In other words, an interest is amount paid for the borrowed money or unearned money for what was lent. Okay? So kumbaga ito yung additional na pera, no? Doon sa perang hiniram mo or doon sa perang ipinahiram mo. Now, there are four basic terms that you need to understand when we talk about interest. No? So the first one is the principal amount or the original amount borrowed. Ito yung perang hiniram mo kung magkano siya. Then we also have the interest rate, a percentage charge on the amount that was borrowed. So kung gaano kalaki yung ipapatong na pera doon sa ipinahiram mo or hiniram mo. Then the interest amount is yung exact money or value nung interest na babayaran mo or makukuha mo. Then lastly is the future amount or value of or maturity value. Ito naman po yung total na marireceive mo kapag nagpahiram ka ng pera kasama yung interest, or ito yung total na babayaran mo, no? The principal and the interest. Now we have two types of interest, which is what we call the simple and the compound interest. Okay? So for the simple interest, ang sabi dito is a simple interest is a interest computed on the principal amount. Okay? So it is the interest that does not become part of your principal. Okay? Meron po kasing interest or we have what we call the compound interest na kung saan yung interest on the previous months magiging part siya ng principal amount, then compute yung interest on that new principal amount. Okay? So sa simple interest is yung principal amount lang ang ating concern. No? For the formula for the interest amount, we have I is equal to PRT or principal times rate times time. Now, kung hindi na pa po given yung interest amount but we are asked to solve for the future value without getting the interest amount, we can use the formula A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. So again, P is the principal amount, R is the interest rate, and T is the time, kung gaano katagal yung loan or yung ipinahiram mo. Or kung given naman po yung interest at yung principal amount, you just need to simply add the two to get the future value. So A is equal to P plus I. Okay, so let's have some examples. So example number 1. A 2-year loan of 500 pesos is made with 4% simple interest. Find the interest earned. Okay? So sa process na gagawin po natin is we will be applying the 4-step rule according to George Polya. You have to understand the problem or identify what are the givens and the unknowns, devise the plan, what formula you will be using. Then carrying out the plan, it means the solution part. and then look back or making conclusions. No? So in this given problem, if we will be trying to know what are the givens, makikita po natin na the principal amount is given, which is 500 pesos, as well as the rate and time. For the rate, we have 4%. That is equivalent to 0.04. And the time is for 2 years. So 2 taon yung loan. Now, since based on the question, ang hinahanap natin yung interest earned, we will be using the formula I is equal to P times R times T. Okay? So yan po. Kasi ang unknown is the interest earned, amount of interest. So for the solution, using the formula I is equals to P times R times T by substitution, that will become 500 times 0.4 times 2. So using your calculator, we would get 40 pesos. Okay? So for the conclusion, the 2-year loan of 500 pesos is made with 4 interest, simple interest earned 40 pesos. So kumita ng 40 pesos yung nagpa-loan doon sa 500 pesos na 2 years. Okay? So that is example number 1. Example number 2. Ryan bought a 15,000 pesos from a bank to buy a car at a 10% interest rate for 6 years. So how much interest would Ryan pay to the bank? So nanghiram ng 15,000 si Ryan sa bangko na merong 10% interest na good for 6 years. Okay? So magkano daw yung interest nung 15,000 na yon? So the given are the principal amount, that is 15,000 pesos based on the problem. The rate is 10%, or that is equivalent to 0.10. That is for 6 years. So using the formula, I is equal to P times R times T. No? By substitution, that's 15,000 times 0.10 times 6. We would get 9,000. So basically, yung interest na nag-earn doon sa 15,000 after 6 years with 10% interest is 9,000 pesos. So Ryan paid 9,000 to the bank for the 15,000 car loan at a 10% interest rate for 6 years. Okay. Now, example number 3. A man put his 500,000 investment earning at 8% interest. Determine the man's interest earned after 15 months. So take note po na it's in months. However, when we compute for simple interest, it should be in years. Okay? So that 15 months will be converted into years. Okay? So let's have the given first. So that's 500,000 for the principal amount, 8% rate or 0.08. For the time, that is 15 months. So that is equivalent to 1.25 years. So alam naman natin, in 1 year, there are 12 months. So since meron pang natitirang 3, 3 divided by 12 is 0.25. So that's why it's 1.25 years. Okay. So using the formula, P times R times T, we would have 500,000 times 0.08 times 1.25. We would get 50,000. Okay. So a man earned an interest of 50,000 for his 500,000 investment after 1.25 years or 15 months. Okay. So example number 4. A business takes out a simple interest loan of 10,000 at a rate of 7.5%. what is the total amount the business will repay if the loan is for 8 years? So in example number 4, we're looking at the total amount, okay, na babayaran niya after 8 years. So hindi natin kailangan i-compute yung interest since hindi naman siya given. We will be applying the future value formula, which is uh, A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. Okay? So the given are 10,000 pesos for the principal, rate of 7.5% or 0.075 for 8 years. Then since we're talking about total amount, so we will be using the formula A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. So by substitution, we would get 10,000 times 1 plus 0.075 times 8. Okay? So in your calculator, you multiply, you can have it directly, no? And you would get 16,000 pesos. Okay? So the total amount the business will repay if the loan is for 8 years at a rate of 7.5% is 16,000. Okay? So, yan po ang total amount na babayaran ng business sa loan niya. Okay? Next one. What is the future value of 5,275 that will be due in 6 months if 11% is applied? So the given are the principal amount, which is 5,275, the rate of 11% or 0.11. Then the time is 6 months, or that is half a year, so 0.5. And since we're talking about future value, ang hinahanap natin, we will be using the formula A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. So by substitution, we have 5,275 times 1 plus the product of 0.11 and 0.5. We would get 5,565.13. So remember na 2 decimal places po tayo lagi since pera ang pinag-uusapan natin. Okay? So for the conclusion, the future amount of 5,275 pesos that will be due in 6 months with a 11% interest is 5,565.13 pesos. Okay? So these are some examples on how you can get the interest and the future value. Okay? So again, you have to identify your given. Okay? Kapag kasi na-identify mo na yan, madali na lang kung anong formula ang gagamitin mo. Then follow na yung solution as well as yung conclusion mo. So it is very important that you know what are the given in the worded problem. Okay? So next one, there are other formulas. No? For example, we're looking at the principal amount, the time, or the rate. No? So take note that multiplied by 100 is the rate if not converted into decimal. So kung ginamit natin is yung percentage form ng rate, you have to multiply it by 100. Kung hindi naman po naka-decimal ka like 0.11, 0.75, no need for us to multiply by 100. Okay? So, ganun po siya. So, for the formulas, for the principal amount, that is 100 times the interest amount divided by rate times time. Okay? So, again, kung hindi naman po siya naka-convert, no need to multiply it by 100. For the rate, that is 100 times simple interest over principal times the time. For time, we have 100 times the interest divided by principal times the rate. Okay, so the following examples are related to these three additional formulas that we have for simple interest. So the first one is Ryan bought 15,000 from a bank to buy a car at 10% interest rate. At the end of the period of at the end of the period, 9,000 pesos is the interest while clearing the loan. Find the time for which the loan was given. So, tinatanong po dito is gaano katagal yung 15,000 loan ni Ryan na merong 10% interest rate at nagbunga siya ng 9,000 interest. Okay? So, let's identify the given. The given is the principal amount, 15,000. Rate is 10,000 or 10%, sorry, or 0.10. And the interest is 9,000 pesos. Okay? So since we're talking about time, we will be using the formula T is equal to 1 over RP. Okay? So since converted po yung rate natin into decimal, which is 0.10, we do not need to multiply it by 100, yung simple interest. Okay? So by substitution, we have 9,000 divided by 0.10 times 15,000. Okay? So the product of 0.10 and 15,000, we would get 6. So 6 years. So therefore, the loan is good for 6 years. Okay? So ganun po siya. Letter B. Ariel takes a loan from a bank to buy a used truck at a rate of 9%, simple interest. The annual calculated interest was 720 pesos. Find the initial principal amount. Okay, so this time, we're talking about gaano kalaki yung hiniram ni Ariel to buy a car or a truck rather. Okay, so since as you can see in the problem, hindi naman indicated yung time, so we assume na the loan is good for 1 year unless otherwise indicated po sa worded problem kung gaano katagal yung loan. But since again, hindi po siya indicated, we assume that the loan is good for 1 year. Okay? So the rate is 9% or 0.09. The interest is 729 pesos and good for 1 year. So since converted tayo again into decimal doon sa rate, we do not need to multiply it by 100, yung interest, no? So the formula, since we're looking at the principal amount, that's P is equal to I over RT. So by substitution, we would have 729 divided by the product of 0.09 times 1, we would get 8,000. So basically, Ariel loaned 8,000 pesos to buy a truck with a 9% interest rate. Okay? So the third problem is about rate naman. Okay? So Sarah deposited 4,000 at a bank with an interest rate per year. So she deposited the money for 3 years with a total interest of 540 pesos. What is the interest rate of Sarah's money per year? So the given are principal amount, which is 4,000. Rate is unknown. I, or the interest amount, is 5,000 or 540 pesos with a time of 3 years. So since we're looking at the rate, the formula that we will be using is equal to R equals 1 over PT, or principal times time. So by substitution, we have 540 divided by 4,000 times 3. We would get 0.045 or 4.5%. Okay, so these are some examples when it comes to finding the principal, the rate, and the time. The next type of interest is what we call compound interest. Okay. So in this one, the initial interest becomes part of the new principal. Then you compute for the interest of that. Okay. So the formula for the compound interest is the future value is equal to the principal amount times 1 plus R over N. R is the interest rate. N is the number of times that it will be computed per year raised to N times T. Okay? So, N is the number of times interest is compounded per year. Ilang beses siyang i-compute. Okay? Now, we have here time conversions. So, para po alam natin. So, if the word that you're saying, the worded problem is annual, it means that uh, it is compounded. If it's compounded annually, it means the number of compounding is 1 kasi isang beses lang siya. Then, uh, that is good for 1 year po yun, no? Kapag semi-annually, it means it is compounded twice. Okay? So, pwedeng January to June, then July to August. So, every 6 months. Kapag quarterly naman po, it is compounded every 3 months. Okay? 4 times. January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to November. Okay? If it's bi-monthly, every 2 months. Okay? So it is compounded 6 times. Kasi January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So every 2 months. Kapag monthly naman po, every month, okay, so that's 12 times that you will be compounding the interest. Okay? So that is the conversion period na meron tayo. So monthly siya. Let's have some examples. Okay? So if an amount of 5,000 is deposited into a savings account at an annual interest rate of 5%, compounded monthly, the value of the investment after 10 years is. Okay? So let's have the given. We're looking at the future value after 10 years. So that's A. The principal amount is 5,000. The rate is 5% or 0.05. So as you could notice on the given problem, it's compounded monthly. So therefore, our N is equal to 12. And that is good for 10 years. So sa isang taon, 12 times i-compute yung interest compoundedly. Okay? So yung sabihin po nun is, on the first month, yung interest na mako-compute, i-add siya. Then, kung ano yung total nun, yun yung kukomputan natin for the second interest, and so on and so forth. Okay? For the formula, we have A is equal to P times 1 plus Rn over NT. Okay? So by substitution, we have 5,000 times 1 plus 0.05 for the interest rate divided by 12 since 12 times po natin siyang i-compute times raised to 12 times n. Okay? So that is equal to 5,000 times 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12 times 100 raised to 120. So using your calculator, you would get 5,000 times 1.647, which is equal to 8,235.05. Okay, so that is the total amount that a person would have on her or his savings account after 10 years that was compounded monthly. Okay? Example number two, what is the value of an investment of 3,500 after 2 years if it earns 1.5% compounded quarterly? Okay, so this time every 3 months quarterly. So the principal amount is 3,500, 1.5% or 0.015. Compounded quarterly means n is 4, time is 2 years. So by substitution, we have 3,500 times 1 plus 0.015 divided by 4 raised to 4 times 2, which is equal to 8. So using your calculator directly, you would get the future value of $3,606.39. Okay? So example number 3 naman, if an amount of $10,000 is deposited into a savings account at an annual interest rate of 4%, compounded semi-annually, it means twice, the value of the investment after 5 years is. So principal amount is 10,000, rate is 0.05. Since compounded semi-annually siya, that's n is equal to 2 and time is 5 years. So same formula, A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to N times T. By substitution, you would get 10,000 times 1 plus 0.04 divided by 2 raised to 2 times 5, which is equal to 10. Okay? So you would get 12,189,000.94 dollars. Lastly, find the compound amount which would be obtained from the interest of 2,000 pesos at 6% compounded quarterly for 5 years. So quarterly na naman siya. So it means 4 years natin, 4 times natin siyang i-compute in a year. Principal is 2,000. Rate is 6% or 0.6. N is equal to 4. Time is 5. So by substitution in the formula or in our formula, A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to NT. We have 2,000 times 1 plus 0.06 divided by 4 raised to 4 times 5, which is 20. Okay? So using your calculator, you would get 2,693.71 pesos. So the compound amount which would be obtained from the interest of 2,000 pesos at a 6% interest compounded quarterly for 5 years is 2,693.71 pesos. Okay, so this is how we compute for the compound interest. So sabi ko nga po kanina, it is important that you understand the problem and you are able to identify your given. Okay, from there you would know what computations or what formulas you will be using to solve the given worded problem. Okay, so next video we'll be discussing about credit cards and consumer loans as well as stocks, bonds, and mutual funds together with home ownership. So I hope that you've learned something today and thank you so much.